Good evening or good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. It's so good to see you today. Thank you for joining this live. If you are new around here, hello, I'm Vicky, founder of the Fashion Business Coach, and every single month I invite a guest to join me who is going to share their expertise and get everyone excited and inspired about their own businesses. So today I'm really excited to have with us Kezia, who is a branding expert, and she's going to be sharing tips with us for marketing our fashion brands, for creating a strong brand identity, and we're going to talk about a few different things. So I'm just going to get the request there. So both be live, and hopefully technology will be kind to me this month, unlike last month. But in the meantime, hello everyone and welcome. Feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from. Hey, I think we are live. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you and to, hear everything that you've got to tell us today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in New Jersey in the States.
Amazing. So I'm over in England today. It's getting
Hi.
dark already, but hopefully the light's going to be good to me and stay. But yeah, amazing. And so glad that we could arrange this with the time difference and everything. I know a lot of people tuning in are going to be from the States, so they'll be more on your side than mine.
I see a few of them coming in. Welcome.
Yeah, hey everyone, so good to see you. We are going to go through a few questions and a few talking points, but at the end we'll have time for a little bit of Q&A, and I'll try and
Okay.
keep on top of the comments for anybody who has something to ask. Oh, we have someone here from Romania as well. Amazing. So somebody else in Europe, which is cool. I
Nice.
was going to introduce you, but as you're here, I think you'll probably prefer to introduce yourself and tell us about what you do and what you're excited about and a little bit about your business.
Okay, so I'm Jamaican born. Hey, Phyllis. Okay, I'm gonna stay focused. I'm such a mess.
It's
I'm
okay.
I'm Jamaican born. I'm known as a saucy sweetheart, and I help modest fashion brands to strut into the closets of women worldwide. However, that is changing, but we'll get into that a little later. Um, I run Kiska Pop. It's a branding and design studio in Newark, New Jersey, and we focus on brand strategy and marketing strategy, which is also going to change as I pivot into a new industry. And when I am not working at my computer, I enjoy traveling, eating good food, and just basking in my alone time.
Amazing. It sounds like we have a lot in common. I love the travel. I'm a big foodie and all that good stuff. And actually, I found you because I did some work recently in the modest fashion industry as well. I've been doing work with that industry for a few years actually. But the most recent project was looking for someone to do their branding. So I was doing a bit of research and putting them in touch with a few people, one of them being you. So it was really great to see the work you're doing or that you were
Thank
doing in that
you.
space. And then just in general, I carried on following along because I really love the branding work that you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I'll dive into the questions. And for anybody who's new here, or maybe new to kind of the concept of marketing and branding, like what are those things? What is the difference between branding and marketing? Because I see a lot of people sort of using those words interchangeably, but do they, in your opinion, have like a different meaning?
They do have a different meaning. And in terms of how they relate to the brand, like they're on the same team, but they're different in their approach. So, first off, branding is about using tools and strategies to influence the way we want people to see, feel, and think about us. And marketing refers to how we the activities and stuff a company does to influence like buying and selling of their products and services. So marketing is more so about attracting, and branding is more of nurturing. Marketing is what we see, branding is how we feel.
That's such a good way of thinking about it. And honestly, I've never thought about it in that way either, that the branding side is that kind of emotive side.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people I speak to, and maybe has been the same with you as well, because I work with a lot of people who are new to the industry. And when I say branding, they immediately say, oh, well, it's fine. I've got a logo. But there's a lot more to it than that. It is about creating that feeling and that I guess that connection that you want to have with that customer.
Yeah, branding is like the end result of the brand strategy. It's what comes to life, is what we see, the branding aspect of it. So like the visual, the verbal, which we'll get into, messaging, all that has to do with branding. And in terms of like how the two work together, you can't have one without the other. There's no effective branding if there's no effective marketing, you know? One
Yeah.
having one without the other is like just a disaster overall, because you need one to help the other, because you know that's how they work.
Absolutely. And the thing is, if you have the most amazing kind of marketing presence and you're getting your name out there, everyone sees it. But if no one connects with it, it's meaningless. People will
It,
see it and then just pass by, right?
exactly.
So when you look at other brands and their branding, is there kind of a particular theme or something that kind of suggests to you, yes, this is a really strong brand strategy or a strong branding? Is the kind of a key thing that you see across different businesses who have success in that area, or is it very personal to the brand?
So one of the ways that I can tell if a company has a good brand is their messaging. Like I focus a lot on how they speak, the words they use, and I can tell based on like even something as simple as your Instagram bio. You know, based on what it says, I can say like, no, they didn't do any brand strategy, or
Okay.
you know, I don't think their brand is as solid based on the words they use to describe them, to describe themselves, and to describe what they offer as well. So.
Amazing that it's that evident to you. I mean, obviously you're a professional, of course, but amazing that even something as what is perceived to be simple as the Instagram bio is actually
Mhm.
really, really important. So I'm sure there's quite a few of you watching who have just kind of thrown any bio together. So that's definitely something to take on board and to think about. And having followed you and watched a lot of your content, I know that verbal language is something that you talk a lot about. And truth be told, as I'm not an expert in this area, it was something that was kind of new to me. And for anybody who hasn't heard that before, what does that mean to you, and how do we sort of apply it to our business?
So your verbal language is the linguistic component of your brand. It's how you express your brand and its essence through the use of words. So things like your brand voice, your positioning statement, your purpose statements, the tone that you use, the like how you speak. Like, do you write in all caps? Brand grammar, as we would say, and just the language overall, how we communicate verbally is what consists of the verbal identity. And it's been kind of taken a back seat to visual identity, but with the prevalence of social media and advertising, and brands wanting to get their brands wanting to get their products and services in front of new customers, advertising plays a heavy role in that, and how you
Mm.
write those ads and how you frame your message has a lot to do with your verbal identity.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but just as a customer, often it will be the image that will catch my attention, or the graphic, but then I do want to read it before I make the purchase, because you want to know the details, and it's where that copywriting is for anybody
Yeah,
who's not heard that term, the actual words, that verbal language that we're just talking about. That's why it's
absolutely.
so powerful, because you do need something to grab the attention, which often isn't the words, at least for me personally as a shopper, is that image. But then people want to know more about it, and that's where the words come in.
Exactly.
Mm,
And
and
go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna kind of ask slash say, for me personally, as someone who's not a strong writer, I find it easier to be consistent if I kind of imagine my sort of brand tone of voice, or that verbal language, as a real person, and it could
Hmm.
be a celebrity or a TV character, something like that, and just think about how they think. And for me personally, that helps me to be a lot more consistent, rather than sort of imagining all the time, oh, what is my brand supposed to be?
Exactly. And this is where personality comes in, because during the strategy process, you develop a persona for your brand. So you know exactly how they should be, how they should speak, what they should look like, and in terms of communication, both visually and verbally, you want to make sure that those two are cohesive and acting together. And
Absolutely.
one of the things I was going to say in terms of verbal identity, even something I know for the fashion brand, something as simple as your product description, like how you
Mm.
write that, how you describe your products, that plays a lot into how your brand is
Mm.
perceived as well.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at a brand who is like a budget brand, like a H&M, a Zara, something like that, and the words they use and how long their descriptions are as well,
Yeah,
versus a high-end designer brand, not only is it creating a lot more of that emotion that we were talking about, but it just has this strong desire to buy. Just the
yeah,
language that they use, it's totally different. So I guess for
exactly.
anybody who isn't a writer, just to go to those kinds of sites and do a bit of a comparison, because I think the words that you use do play into how much people are willing to pay and how much people value products.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, you could definitely use them as like a benchmark of how you write your copy.
Mm.
So.
And when you work with brands on this kind of visual language, sort of where do you start? Like, what do you need from brands in order to be able to start that process?
When I work with the verbal language,
Mm.
most,
Or the branding in general,
okay, so
if that's easier.
yeah, I usually start with brand strategy. So we're coming in from scratch. You know, audience
Mm.
research needs to be done, competitor research. And once we get those two, now we can determine like what's your differentiating factor? How are you different from others in the market? And when we get the differentiating factor, then we can move on to your positioning and really coming, like bringing all the pieces of your brand together, your personality, your messaging,
Mm.
and all that.
And I'm so glad to hear you say those things, because so many, again, working with startups, so many people come to me and they'll just say, oh, I want to start a fashion brand or I want to start a swimwear brand. And you kind of need more than that these days. And I don't want to scare people when I say that, but the reality is how many swimwear brands, for example, are out there. You do need that unique voice. You do need that strong brand. You do need that something different that's going to make people come to you rather than a brand that maybe they've shot with for years and they're already familiar with. You've got to give them a reason to switch, a reason to trust you as well. And that's why really we're having this conversation, because I wanted to show people, you know, how important this branding piece is, and it's not something to just skim over and skip past at the start.
Definitely. And people may think like, oh, well, so and so, this company, they don't do a lot of, they don't have like a strong brand, or they don't do this, they don't do that. Well, they started way back, you know, 50, 70 years ago when
Mm.
there were less competitors. But now, seeing that there are so many competitors in the market, you need to have a way to stand out. You need to have a plan
Mm.
of how your brand is going to survive, because the market is just so saturated in every industry. So this
Yep.
is where branding plays a key role, is really setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely, and that's such a good point, because a lot of these kind of giant brands that we all know, you know, historically they would have just opened a physical store, and the reality is that back then you had to shop that way, and people would just walk by and see them, and that's how they got customers. It wasn't really more complicated than that for a long,
Exactly.
long time. Me showing my age here, but when I started work, there was no online shopping. You know, people had to come to the store I worked in, else they couldn't buy our stuff. And you know, it has changed a lot. So that's actually kind of a good tip in a way, to not reference, particularly for the branding and marketing side of things, those sort of super brands who started a long time ago and had the luxury of, you know, people just wandering by and walking into
Yeah,
their store. We do have to be a bit more strategic about it these days when we're trying to get into a crowded online marketplace.
exactly. And those brands, they have the history, you know, they have the years of being exposed to the market. That's the
Mm-hmm.
advantage that they have, is that they've been around for so long. People know who they are. You know, they've, some of them, they've spent millions and millions of dollars in ads. But
Mm,
if you are coming onto the scene now and you're a smaller brand, you don't have millions and millions of dollars
mm,
to get people to know who you are. So this is your competitive advantage, is getting your brand together in terms of like showcasing your X factor, what makes you different, what makes you unique, you know,
mm.
and really showing that personality side as well, because that's what people really connect to.
Mm, absolutely. And I think as well with brands that are launching now, you do have to have kind of a strong brand presence from the get-go, because maybe, 10 years ago when websites weren't
Mm-hmm.
the software wasn't really there to make everyone have a good website. It is there now, and there's this expectation that you have to really step up, because if you've got, I know going back to logos, but we know that branding's so much more than that, but just even a logo that looks a bit kind of half done or not really thought through, that's going to create a persona, an opinion in people's
Yep,
mind, and they're going to have that opinion, and you have to be aware of that and control that. If you've got something that doesn't
exactly.
look right, people are automatically going to place a value on your products, for one, whether they trust you, which is really important for that selling online piece, because as you said, there's these big companies that have had customers for decades, and people
Mm-hmm.
will just keep going back to them if they don't trust you and what you're putting out there.
Exactly. And I'm one of those buyers. If I go to your website and it's not put together, if your logo doesn't look right, if your grammar and the writing is off, I'm not buying. I don't care
Mm,
how good your product is. I'm not buying any of that. I'm not
mm,
supporting anything. So, you know, it's really important. There are more people out there like me who want quality all around.
mm,
It's not just the visual, the verbal, it's the whole experience. And there are
mm,
people like me who look for that, because if I'm going to part with my money, it has to be something that I feel is worth it. So it's definitely
mm.
important to consider.
Absolutely. And to those of you watching thinking, oh, well, these two are kind of experts in their field, like they're obviously going to look for these things. I think subconsciously, most people kind of are aware of what's a strong, they might not be able to quantify it and say,
Yeah,
oh, this brand's better because of this reason, but they have this opinion formed almost automatically when they see a new business. And I think
exactly.
that's true for anybody.
And it's the feeling, you know, they feel it when they see it. They may
Yes.
not be able, like you said, to articulate it, but they feel it. They know, like, something's off about that. I don't know what it is,
Mm.
but I just don't feel, I feel funny, you know? That's
Yeah.
how we say it over here, like, oh, I feel funny about that. We
Yeah.
know that's, you know, we know something's off. We just aren't able to really point it out, like, that's what it is. We can
Mm.
point it out, you and I, but, you know, for the average consumer, like, they just know something's off. And then when they see it, they're like, that one. I like
Yeah.
that one. So,
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree with what you said there. And so many important reasons there to talk about branding and really focus on it as a priority. And I know it's tempting just to skip straight to kind of the design part, and the part that a lot of you watching, I know, perceive as the most fun part. I do think, I would argue, branding can be really fun and creative as well, and something definitely to spend the time on. So thank you for sharing those tips. And
absolutely.
I did have another question that's changing pace a little bit, which is about Clubhouse. Because I'll be honest, I'm a total novice at Clubhouse, don't really know a ton about it, but I know you're quite active on it, or at least from what I can tell on social. So I was just curious to know a little bit about it and how you use it, and I guess whether you'd recommend it as well.
So Clubhouse is an audio only platform that really blew up during the pandemic. So last year I was on it every day for about 8 hours a day. It was my whole
Wow,
life.
amazing.
It was my whole life, and I was on there nonstop. So I really got to know the platform, understand the dynamic of it being audio only, which
Mm,
for me, an introvert, I don't mind audio only, you know, but I think where it shines is the ability to connect with so many diverse people. You know, you have people from the UK, there are people in Australia,
mm,
there are people in Japan in the fashion industry, and it's just
mm,
being able to connect with those people and one, bring awareness to your brand and to whatever initiatives that you're working on, and then to
mm,
network, you know, really connect and, you know, there were a few rooms that I've been a part of. You know, it was like casting, and people would cast
Mm.
like, we're looking for photographers, or we're looking for models,
Wow.
and we're looking for designers. And I'm like, wow, this is really neat, you know.
Mm.
And there weren't a lot of big fashion groups on there, but there were
Mm.
a few that is definitely, I think, is definitely worth
Mm.
joining as a fashion brand and really take
Mm.
advantage of the opportunity, because Clubhouse is just another marketing vehicle. And any
Mm.
opportunity that you have to market yourself for free is definitely
Yeah.
worth taking into consideration.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I honestly learned more about it in the last 30 seconds than I think I've learned it this whole time. And it blew my mind a little bit that there were photographers and casting type conversations happening there, because
Mm-hmm.
I imagined, I mean, I just wouldn't have imagined that to be on there as an audio only platform, hiring or, talking about photography and things, which is obviously very much a visual thing. So it's really opened my eyes to what goes on there. So I'll
And
definitely have to have a look.
And you know what, too? Yes, it's audio only, but people found creative ways to make it visual. So when we were in a room, like they would do like these sketching sessions, like, oh, we're going to sketch and show us your sketches by changing your profile picture. So you would just
Wow.
refresh, and then everyone's profile picture would light up with like sketches. And I'm like, oh, this is neat. So, you know, they would give critique, like, I like that, oh, maybe fix this, and what does that mean? And it was just very interesting and just a unique way to share the visual in an audio
Hmm.
only platform.
I love that. And it's just another way to be creative and
Mm-hmm.
thinking in a different way to how we've thought for the past however many years since Instagram in particular took over. And I guess Pinterest as well is obviously a very visual platform. So,
Mm-hmm.
really, really interesting to hear about all that. So, thank you for sharing.
You're
Do you still have a
welcome.
Clubhouse room yourself? Because if you do, I'm happy to link it below and for the replay. Is it something you're still active in?
I haven't done a Clubhouse room in months, and I'm not
That's all right.
sure when I'll be doing one, but there are
That's all
plenty
right.
of fashion rooms, fabulous fashion rooms
No,
in
that's fine. I
Clubhouse.
just thought I've loved talking to you so much that I thought if that you have a room, I definitely want to be following it along. But I will be linking, of course, to your Instagram anyway, and I definitely suggest that everyone checks it out because it's I've learned so much from it myself, and I'm sure everyone else will as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you.
These have all been so helpful. I'm sorry if you can see me look into my notes because I get really caught up in the conversations and I get really excited by what the guest has to say. And I got to keep myself on track because I know that you only have a limited amount of time. So this was amazing. If anybody has any comments or any questions that you want to hop in, we still have a few minutes and you can pop those in the comments. I did love, I'm sorry I didn't see the name of who posted it, but somebody wrote when we were talking about you can just tell if something's off with the branding. Someone was
Mm-hmm.
like, it's just like off fish. You just know it's not good to eat and you just know there's something not right and you should avoid it. And I love that. So thank you
Yes,
for sharing that.
definitely. And I see
Just for, oh,
everybody
sorry.
has been here the whole time. Wow, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you very much for your attention. Appreciate that. And something actually that's wanted to link in with branding that attention spans are so short these days, and branding is a real opportunity where you can make an impact really quickly and try and grab people's attention. So
Absolutely.
something important. Somebody who's just popped in has asked, what is the topic today? So if you want to watch, I'm going to be posting a replay so you can watch from the beginning, and we're talking about branding and marketing as today's topic. We've got an expert here who's been sharing some amazing tips, so definitely recommend going ahead and watching the replay, which will be available straight after this. I know you've got a few links and things for us, and would you like to share a little bit about the kind of work you do, how people can work with you, and I can post the links with the replay as well.
So currently I'm in modest fashion, but however, I will be transitioning into a new industry. I'm not going to reveal yet. I'll reveal on my
Okay.
socials. And
Okay,
I'm going to be
exciting.
focusing on verbal language. So, um, if anyone wants to have a consultation, however, I'm open for consultations. You can find a link in my bio to book a call, and we can do consultations that way. If you have any questions that necessarily aren't consultation type, then send me a DM and I'll be happy to answer those as well.
Okay, amazing. I love that. I think we've scared somebody because they've commented on the fact that they're worried about what their logo is now and that it's scaring people and putting them off. So I'm sorry that we've freaked you out a little bit. Would that be a good topic for a consultation? Is that something you can talk somebody through?
They can send me a DM, but really I post a lot about logos and branding and marketing in my carousels. You can really probably get your whole logo together just by reading one carousel. But if you feel that you need more one-on-one, definitely send me a DM and I'll be happy to help you.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. And I have to say, like the carousel content that you put out in particular, is really, really helpful. There's so much value and so much knowledge in there.
Thank
So
you.
100% going to be linking to that below this. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful for everything that you've shared today. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Just in closing, is the one thing that you think is kind of the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing that people need to take away from this when they're thinking about their branding and their verbal language?
I think the biggest thing people need to take away from this is really knowing the customer. Like, who is the customer? What do they want? What do they want to see? What do they expect from you? Because in terms of building or starting out with your brand strategy, for me at least, that's the primary focus because I'm very customer centric. Without a customer, you don't have a business. So really
100%.
understanding who the customer is, knowing more than just the demographics, really getting into, why do they purchase? Why do they purchase on these days? And why would they not purchase your brand? And some tools that can be used to gather customer data are Kissmetrics, Brand24, forgetting one of them. Kissmetrics and Brand24, you can use those tools or apps to
Okay.
gather data about customers and
Oh, I love
really
that.
use their language to shape your own language. Because once you speak to the customer the way they speak to their friends, they already know you're connecting with them. And it's one more step over the hurdle of really connecting and gaining that trust in order for them to buy. That was a long answer.
It was a long answer, but it was so important. And I love that you specifically said that, without a customer, you don't have a business. That's exactly what I'm telling people all the time. And I'm so happy that you said it as well, because people just think I'm being a bit of a killjoy and a bit boring because they just want to get into designing and having fun. And I get it. But yeah, it's so important to have that foundation if you do want to have a
Absolutely.
long-term business.
Absolutely.
We've had a lot of love for you in the comments here. We've had people saying what I was saying about how amazing your carousels are. We had someone else share the same thing and that they definitely recommend
Oh,
checking you
thank you.
out.
I cannot
Someone,
see any comments. I'm like,
oh, weird.
nobody's saying anything. I
Okay,
cannot
well, I
see.
better read these out. So don't worry. Yeah, we've had a lot
Okay.
of love in the comments, so don't worry. Somebody else asked if you're no longer doing any modest fashion. I think maybe they are a modest fashion brand themselves. So is that kind of a no-go now? And you're going to reveal what you're moving into? Is that right? You're not
Send
taking
me
on any of that kind of work?
send me a DM.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. And then just quickly, one other question we've had is what is the best way to kind of modernize your company's outlook? So I'm assuming this is a person who's already in business and maybe watched this and thought, okay, I need a bit of a change in the way I'm presenting myself and my brand. Is there a kind of, would it be like an audit sort of process perhaps? If you're already established and want to change your branding, is it a similar process to what you were describing for the new brands?
When she says outlook, what does that mean? How do you to modernize the
The
outlook?
way, if you're still here, please let us know. But I interpret it as how you're perceived. So the way that the brand is being showcased, perhaps they want to change what that perception is from the customer. That was my interpretation, at least, that they want to change their brand identity fundamentally.
Hello, you there? Okay.
But if
So
not commented,
to change a brand identity, first we have to know why we're changing it. It's not just a matter of I want to change it. Are customers displeased? Are they saying it doesn't draw them in? We have to know why we're doing things before we start doing it. So I just wanted to get some clarity on that question before I give any type of advice.
Oh, I see. They've just commented back now saying they have a company that feels like they're in the past and they want to explain their messaging better to get to a new customer. So I guess it's more of a case of they've realized their target customer is a little bit different and they need to pivot the brand to match that.
So there are two types of updates you can do. You can do a refresh or you can do a rebrand. If you're doing a rebrand, this is for when you have a whole new audience, you have a new position, and you want to communicate that. If you're just doing a refresh, you still have the same audience, same interest, but you just want to express your brand in a different type of way. So if it's the case where you have a new audience and you want to move in a different direction, then that would be a rebrand. So I would recommend conducting brand strategy before you can do the identity, because strategy is going to be what informs where your identity goes and what it looks like.
Absolutely. So it's almost starting from those basics again to make sure that you've got the target customer aligned and then that brand strategy. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for answering that for us as well.
You're welcome.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge. I'm following along, as you know, and I can't wait to see the big reveal on where you're pivoting to and what's coming next. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled for that.
Thanks, Vicky.
I'm going to put all the links below so everyone can go check out your content. It's amazing and I'm sure they're going to love it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time here, and thank you everyone who came as well. It's been really nice to chat to you all. Enjoy your evening or your morning depending on where you are, and take care everyone.
Bye guys.
Thanks again. Bye.